the male protagonist of this anime, Tuya, died because of God's mistake. To compensate him, the gods allow him to travel into another world with all his memories and a smartphone, and even raise all his attributes to the strongest. As a result, the powerful man becomes a king with 9 wives in another world. Now, let's reveal how the male protagonist conquers his harems in today's recap. The anime begins as the male protagonist Tuya travels to another world with his smartphone. Just then, he notices 2 robbers are trying to rob 2 girls. He bravely fights the robbers and realizes he can predict their movements. Eventually, he easily defeats the robbers and saves 2 cute girls. The girl with long hair is Els, while another girl with short hair is her sister, Linza. During the conversation with the girls, Tuya learns that they are professional adventurers who earn their living by undertaking quests. Tuya also aspires to take up this profession, but he can't read the language of this world, so he can't accept any quests. Learning of this, the 2 girls decide to continue adventuring with Tuya while teaching him knowledge about this world. After all, he is powerful enough to help them defeat monsters. During their adventures, Tuya finds that Els is a warrior while Linza is a magician. Curious about magic, he immediately asks Linza about the way of casting magic as soon as they complete the mission. Linza takes out 7 pieces of colored magic stones, which symbolize different attributes. Those who have specific attributes can cast magic as long as they focus their consciousness on the corresponding stone. When Tuya focuses on the blue stone, a large amount of water immediately gushes out. After that, he tries the rest of the stones, all of which cast the corresponding magic one by one. The last stone corresponds to the non-attributed magic, through which the users can cast specific magic by saying the name of the magic. Some people even conjure up portals through it. Out of curiosity, Tuya recites the name of the portal, which surprisingly summons a portal that leads to another place. Seeing this, Linza is quite astonished. She never thought that Tuya could cast 7 attributes of magic while she could only cast 3. Just then, the hotel owner, eager to find out girls' preferred snacks, comes to seek advice from the guests. Tuya instantly remembers ice cream and uses his smartphone to search for the recipe. Since everyone is curious about what he has in his hands, Tuya has to lie that it is a magic prop. He makes some ice cubes with magic and makes ice cream with various ingredients. After that, he gives the recipe to the owner. Later, Tuya, Linza, and Els take on a commission to deliver a letter to the capital. On their way, they see a group of Yakuza attacking a young girl in a kimono, Yae, and rush to save her. Yae is a samurai who intends to travel to the capital to train herself. On her way, she lost her money and could only suffer from hunger. Linza and Els feel sympathetic to this lovely girl. They treat her to a full meal and take her in for company. On the way to the capital, Tuya studies one of Linza's magic books, which includes names of various non-attributed magic. Upon saying these names, he can instantly cast the corresponding magic, which means he can perform any magic as long as he knows its name. Suddenly, Tuya smells a smell of blood and rushes to the source of the smell with the girls, only to find people being attacked by a group of lizard men. The girls quickly join the fight, while Tuya casts a magic called Slip to make all the lizard men slip and fall, helping the girls achieve victory. The people who are attacked actually are the guards of the Duke's daughter. Sashi, the butler next to Sashi, is hit by an arrow. The arrowhead stays inside him and cannot be removed. Realizing he is dying, the butler says goodbye to Sashi. Suddenly, Tuya comes up with an idea. He removes the arrowhead out of the butler's body with the magic in the spell book, and then heals him with the healing magic. Grateful for Tuya's kindness, Sashi and her butler entrust him and the girls as bodyguards at a high price. Tuya, who has planned to travel to the capital, agrees to this commission without hesitation. When they arrive at the capital, they visit the Duke's castle. After hearing what happened to Sashi, the Duke holds Tuya's hands tightly and thanks him for saving Sashi. Then, he guiltily apologizes that his wife is unable to express her gratitude to Tuya due to a disease that has destroyed her eyesight. The only remedy is a unique non-attributed magic, but the Duke hasn't found anyone capable of wielding this magic. The kind Tuya wants to confirm whether he can cast any magic and offers to have a try. He comes to the Duke's wife and then casts the spell from the book on her. As expected, the disease is cured, regaining her eyesight. The Duke's wife sheds tears of excitement. To show his gratitude, the Duke gives Tuya a large sum of money and also hands over Tuya's team 4 tokens, which are usually held by nobles and symbolize that Tuya's team is sheltered by the Duke. After experiencing this series of events, Yae feels the kindness and power of Tuya. She admires him and decides to stay by his side. Tuya takes his companions to complete the commission of delivering the letter, and then they come to explore a nearby dilapidated ruin, in which they intend to find treasures. However, nothing is ever found. After enhancing his senses with magic, Tuya discovers a mysterious thing hidden underground. He commands Linza to carry out an explosion and blows out a passage leading underground, where there is a wall with writing on it that they have never seen before. Tuya takes out his smartphone and takes a picture to record the writing. At this moment, he sees a switch on the wall and presses it. Soon, the wall collapses, and the mysterious thing they are looking for shows up. When Tuya touches it, it emits an eerie bright light and turns into a blue spider. The blue spider bursts out a shrill cry, causing the passage to collapse. Tuya immediately creates a portal and takes the girls to the ground. However, the blue spider still chases after them and continues launching an attack on them. Although Linza and Els collaborate effectively in the battle and manage to break its legs, the spider quickly recovers and even causes injuries to Els. Tuya heals Els with magic while thinking of ways to deal with the blue spider. He notices a red jewel inside it and thinks that it is its core. After Els is cured, he casts a magic spell to move the red gem to his hand. Els then smashes the red gem with one punch, and the blue spider suddenly turns into a pile of powder. In order to find out the secret of those words, Tuya finds the Duke, who happens to get the news that the king is poisoned. He hurriedly asks Tuya to help detoxify in the palace. When they arrive at the palace, all the nobles are anxiously guarding the king, but one earl smirks. Almost everyone thinks that the king is about to die, but Tuya has long learned the magic that can cure everything. So finally, he easily heals the king. Later, Tuya casts his magic and discovers the wine glass for the king is poisonous. He suspects that the culprit behind this plot is the Earl, so he offers a glass of wine to the Earl. As the Earl drinks the wine, he exclaims that he has been poisoned, yet nothing happens to him. It turns out that Tuya has already removed the toxins on the rim of the glass before. He then questions how the Earl knew the glass was poisoned. Having no valid explanation, the Earl has to confess his guilt. Princess Yamina falls in love with Tuya from the first sight, seeing the wisdom and magic of him. She proposes to marry him. The king wants to win over Tuya, so he immediately agrees to Yamina's request, only to be refused by Tuya. He still carries the concept of where he comes from, thinking that he can't get married until he's 18. But now, he is only 16. Yamina goes on an adventure with Tuya. She is so talented in fighting that she can summon a group of silver wolves to fight for her. Interested in Yamina's summoning, Tuya also tries it and unexpectedly summons a mighty white tiger, which is the highest level monster. The white tiger is very proud and does not think that Tuya is qualified to be its master. It tries to detect Tuya's mana level, only to get fainted after seeing it. After White Tiger wakes up, he surrenders to Tuya right away, shrinking his size and following him. The first quest they accept after White Tiger's participation is to eliminate the slimes. Upon reaching the destination, they are besieged by a large number of slimes. The mucus created by these slimes is lubricating and corrosive. Although Tuya is prevented from any corrosion thanks to White Tiger's rescue, the girls suffer a lot. After quickly changing their clothes, girls begin to hunt slimes everywhere. Eventually, they destroy the entire gathering spot of slimes with fire. Tuya takes his friends back to the town where he meets Els and Linza. Later, he meets a lost little girl. The god once added a map of this world to his mobile phone. Tuya can detect magic in the distance and search for people nearby with the help of the map. Finally, he helps the little girl find her mother. After this incident, the king sends them a letter, inviting Tuya to the capital, and he intends to grant him a knighthood in return for detoxification. Tuya doesn't like publicity and refuses the title. The king can only grant him a mansion to live with Princess Yamina. The girls also feel that Tuya should live with the person he likes, but he wants everyone to live together because he likes all these girls. Hearing this, the girls feel shy and agree to live together. During this moment, the Duke makes an unexpected visit to Tuya. He informs Tuya that the king wants to go to the Demihuman kingdom to forge an alliance. However, due to concerns about potential risks during the journey, the king wants to use Tuya's portal. Tuya happily consents to the proposition. Nonetheless, given the limitation that his portal can only connect to places he has visited, he must first embark on a journey to the Demihuman kingdom. He takes the girls on a journey, and the king sends soldiers to protect them. As they pass through the forest, the soldiers notice a group of bandits around. Tuya uses his smartphone to detect the location of the robbers and paralyzes their bodies with magic. Therefore, the soldiers easily capture all the bandits. In addition to the bandits, Tuya also meets a flying black dragon attacking a village nearby in the forest. It breathes fire in the village and enjoys the feeling of slaughtering humans. Tuya rides on the white tiger to attract its attention, leading it to a place far away from the village. The black dragon is shot down by the magic cast by him, and then Linza cuts off a pair of its wings with magic. Furious, the black dragon spits out flames. Tuya hurriedly takes Linza away and then fights back the black dragon. He instructs Linza to create a huge ice wall, and then he transforms it into a magnifying glass. He casts magic to release lights, which are focused on the black dragon through the magnifier. And soon, the black dragon is ignited. the black dragon falls in agony. At this time, a red dragon flies over, intending to take revenge on Tuya. When seeing the white tiger beside Tuya, the red dragon instantly turns humble because the white tiger is a monster of the same level as the Dragon King. The red dragon doesn't dare to provoke it and quickly flees with the black dragon. After that, Tuya takes his friends to rescue the injured villagers and repairs the damaged houses. Shortly thereafter, they reach the Demihuman kingdom and meet the king here, Kamka, who is a fighting maniac. Upon learning about Tuya's victory against the Black Dragon, he becomes incredibly eager to engage in a fight with Tuya. With a sense of resignation, Tuya has to stand in the arena. He employs the slip as soon as the fight begins, causing Kamka unable to stand up and lose the fight. Claiming that Tuya uses cheating skills, Kamka insists on a confrontation with him. As a result, Tuya can only give up using slip and fights with Kamka using a wooden sword instead. Kamka moves so fast, but all the attributes of Tuya are leveled up to the highest by the god, and Tuya wins the fight again. Kamka admires the power of Tuya and especially holds a grand banquet for him. Tuya and his friends all change into the traditional costumes of demi-humans at this banquet, and they look quite charming. After the banquet, Tuya leaves the hall and meets a walking doll. The owner of the doll is called Lean, the chief magician of the palace, who is able to cast non-attributed magic to drive inanimate objects into action. Tuya thinks it is interesting and then casts the same magic after her. Lean is amazed at Tuya's talent and forces Tuya to be her apprentice, which scares Tuya away. After that, Tuya uses the portal to arrange a meeting between the king he saved before and Kamka, and the two countries complete the alliance. When he returns to his country, Tuya meets a group of thieves who are giving a kid a hard time. Tuya takes out his weapon to drive away the thieves and saves the kid. Her name is Ren and she is an orphan. Tuya feels so bad for Ren that he takes her home and appoints her as his maid. Just then, Lean pays an unexpected visit to Tuya's house. Lately, she has been investigating Tuya and has discovered his ability to freely cast any magic he wants. Additionally, she's also learned about his victory over the blue spider. Coincidentally, she has come across a creature similar to the blue spider, and she's now keen on delving into the origins of these monsters in Ye's homeland. As a result, she reaches out to Tuya, seeking his assistance in using the portal to transport her to Ye's hometown. In return, she offers to teach Tuya a unique method for opening portals that can transport them to any destination, even places they haven't visited. Tuya is very interested in Ye's hometown and agrees to this request. Lean guides Ye back to her hometown and then asks Ye to lean on Tuya. Soon after, Ye's hometown appears in Tuya's mind, and then he uses a teleportation array to bring him and his friends to the destination. Ye hasn't been home for a long time. She excitedly brings her friends to her house, but only to see her mother. Ye's mother says that her father is fighting on the front line and is very likely to be life-threatening. After thinking for a while, Tuya decides to help Ye's father. He brings his companions to the battlefield, where he sees Ye's father and several generals. They are anxious because the Lord has been caught in the enemy's dungeon. By reading the memory of a female ninja who has entered the dungeon, Tuya certifies the dungeon's location. Then he takes the ninja and Lean into the dungeon. They rescue many allies who are imprisoned, but not a sign of the Lord. They continue scouring the enemy camp and find the Lord in the residence of the enemy leader. Surprisingly, the Lord launches an attack on them. Just then, the enemy leader says proudly that he wields dominion over the Lord through a red gem. Hearing this, Tuya employs his magic to transport the gem into his hand and subsequently destroys it with one shot. The enemy leader lets out a miserable cry and rapidly changes into a pile of powder, just like the blue spider. After this, Ye's father wins the war. Tuya takes his friends on the road to find ancient ruins. He checks the map and finds that the destination they are tracking down is actually in the sea. Tuya enters the sea first and finds that the location of the ruins is so deep that it is impossible to approach it. White Tiger suggests that he summon a monster named Black Tortoise, which is a monster of the same level as White Tiger and is good at moving in water. Under the guidance of the White Tiger, Tuya summons Black Tortoise. Now Tuya can breathe freely in the water with the shelter of Black Tortoise. He takes Black Tortoise into the ancient ruins and discovers a mysterious teleportation formation. After he injects magic power into the teleportation array, he and Black Tortoise are sent to a garden where there is a green-haired girl. The girl is named Francesca. She is a robot who serves as the garden's manager. She tells Tuya that the place is called the Hanging Gardens of Babylon and he is the first human visitor in the past 5,000 years. According to the final words of the previous owner, Tuya can now do anything to her. However, the righteous Tuya refuses her proposal. Actually, it is a test left by Regina. Only those who can reject Francesca's allurements are qualified to take ownership of the garden and Francesca. After this, Tuya sends his companions into the garden through the portal. Other people in the garden are sharing information about the garden. Lean fails to find out the mystery of the ancient ruins, but she finds many clues of ancient civilizations in the garden. Regina builds 9 islands in the sky, and the garden is one of them. Each island has a manager, but Francesca hasn't met the other managers for a long time, and she can't make sure if the islands are still there. Besides, the islands cannot be found on Tuya's map. All of a sudden, to authenticate Tuya as the owner of the garden, Francesca collects Tuya's DNA with a passionate kiss, which happens to be seen by the 4 girls who come back. The girls are all stunned, unwilling to accept the fact that Francesca takes away Tuya's first kiss. The bold girl Linza kisses Tuya passionately. Tuya has no idea of how to respond to the kiss, so he decides to take the girls home first. Later, Yamina approaches him alone, complaining that both Linza and Francesca have shared kisses with Tuya, while she hasn't. Gazing upon Yamina's adorable and aggrieved face, Tuya can't help but give her a gentle kiss. After that, she calls Linza here, saying that Tuya should respond to Linza's kiss. Linza sheds tears nervously when Tuya quickly says that he likes both Linza and Yamina and he wants both of them to be his wives. Linza and Yamina both smile and lean on his arms happily. When Ye and Els hear the news, they confront Tuya, saying that they also want to marry him. This time, Tuya doesn't make a promise easily because he is worried that he won't be able to make all 4 girls happy. He frustratingly confides his troubles to Francesca, who doesn't really understand human emotions. She thinks that Regina might be able to help him, and then takes out a prop, which is left by Regina to her successor. Soon, the image of Regina shows on the props, enabling Tuya to engage in a brief conversation with Regina, who came from 5,000 years ago. Unfortunately, Regina cannot offer any assistance. Suddenly, Tuya remembers that the god has left him a phone number, so he makes an appointment with God over the phone, hoping that God could help him. God is very enthusiastic and invites a beautiful goddess to help Tuya with his issues. After some discussions, Tuya finally gets determined. When he returns home, he announces his final decision to 4 girls. He will marry all of them in the future because he is not mature enough to take on such a great responsibility now. Seeing Tuya so sincere, the girls are all convinced. Afterward, Tuya and his fiancés engage in a battle again. This time their targets are the 2 mithril giants. The body of the mithril giants is so hard that ordinary weapons cannot do any damage to it. Tuya teleports the 2 mithril giants to a height of 10,000 meters through a portal. After they fall out of the air, Tuya and his fiancés take turns attacking. With everyone's joint efforts, they manage to defeat the 2 mithril giants. Upon his return home, Tuya receives a summon from the god, who is accompanied by the goddess. He hastily uses a portal to meet them. The gods intend to inquire about Tuya's current situation, content with his present life. Tuya expresses gratitude for the second chance at life granted by the gods. Though his future goals remain uncertain, he aims to start by earning money through completing quests. While discussing smartphones, the goddess observes that Tuya doesn't use images of his 4 fiancés as his wallpaper. She believes setting the image of a beloved one as wallpaper can evoke smiles when viewing it. However, Tuya holds a different perspective, as he doesn't want to smile like that. The goddess then argues that Tuya kept laughing during the purchase of engagement rings for his 4 fiancés. Tuya doesn't expect that the goddess and god have been observing his life, and he thinks them very boring. Meanwhile, Tuya's fiancés are bathing together. They are all so obsessed with Tuya that they can't help but check out their engagement rings. Tuya is very powerful, and Yamina believes that he will have more fiancés in the future. They can't interfere with Tuya's decisions, and what they need to do now is try to strengthen themselves and support Tuya. The other fiancés also agree with Yamina's idea. After taking a bath, one of the fiancés Ye and Tuya arrive at the repair shop. Ye's sword broke during a battle with the mithril giants, and it will take a week to forge a new one. On the way back, Ye offers to hold hands with Tuya, to which Tuya agrees. Ye is very excited, and she hopes that she and Tuya can always be so happy. Later, Tuya and Yamina arrive at the palace together. Yamina is the eldest princess of the Belfast kingdom and has a very high status. The queen is happy that they are able to be engaged, but she worries that announcing their marriage will cause trouble for Tuya. First, the nobles who choose Yamina as their daughter-in-law will see Tuya as an enemy. Second, there will be many people who want to woo Tuya. Third, if Tuya fails to perform well, some diehards will think he is not worthy of being Yamina's husband. After returning from the palace, Tuya thinks of the 3 problems raised by the queen. The first 2 are unavoidable, and what he can do is try to make real achievements and contribute to the country. So Tuya goes to a hotel to investigate the situation. Knowing that the hotel doesn't earn much money, Tuya helps the owner transform the hotel and create a hot spring. After that, he gathers a group of people he knows to come to the hotel to experience it. His 4 fiancés are also involved. Later, Yamina finds that soaking in the hot spring will make her skin smoother and wants Tuya Tuya to praise her skin. However, the other fiancés are more reserved about their motives, refusing to acknowledge that their purpose of soaking in the hot spring is to improve Tuya's admiration for them. Yamina believes they are not mature enough, claiming that if they truly hold affection for Tuya, they will be eager to have intimate interactions with him. The question of their genuine feelings for Tuya then arises, prompting them to share their stories to prove their feelings for Tuya. When Els first met Tuya, she developed a crush on him. He was very gentle in every move and respected her. After they spent a long time together, she gradually fell in love with Tuya. Linza is Els' twin sister. She is not good at communicating with people, and every time she interacts with a boy, she will annoy the other party. But Tuya was patient and always listened to her carefully. When Tuya took her to meet with other girls, she felt heartbroken. That's when she realized she had a crush on him. Ye has a similar experience with them, and she admires Tuya's character. He is circumspect and very determined. He takes action more for others than for himself, often helping those around him. These are the reasons why they are attracted to him. After they tell their stories, Els asks Yamina to also tell why she likes Tuya. Yamina is very straightforward. As she says, she was sure that Tuya would be her husband when she first met him. She can't say a specific reason, but she just likes him. At this time, they hear the manager of the Sky Garden, Francesca, saying that she's going to rub Tuya's back. Right now, Francesca and Tuya are bathing in different pools. Because the two pools are separated by a fence, she wants to climb directly over it and go to Tuya. Unexpectedly, Tuya set up a paralysis device on the fence to prevent someone from peeping at the women's bathhouse. After being paralyzed, Francesca is unable to move forward. Just as Tuya is enjoying the pleasure of bathing, Lean suddenly rushes into the men's bathhouse, informing Tuya that she has found the ruins of Babylon Island. Lean is the leader of the fairy tribe and a master of using magic. She is interested in lost ancient technology and knowledge and wants to open a portal to reach ancient ruins that she has not been to. While they use a monitoring device to find the location of the ruins, they find a giant crystal monster. Phrase is about to attack a group of desert victims. Tuya immediately rushes to the desert with his harem members. The El sisters are responsible for bringing the victims to safety. Because Ye is very powerful, Tuya uses a portal to send her to duel with Phrase. Since Phrase's body is very hard, Ye's attack does not hurt him. She fails in her attack and returns to Tuya. While Tuya is immersed in thinking of a strategic plan, his friend Indy suddenly appears. He doesn't expect to see Tuya here and immediately greets him. Later, Indy teleports to Phrase and uses magic to directly smash it. Impressed by Indy's prowess, Tuya commends his strength and asks him about the origin of Phrase. According to Indy, the world has a protective barrier that prevents the invasion of foreign objects. However, one day, the barrier begins to crack, allowing Phrase to emerge. Indy thinks Phrase just serves as someone's subordinate, carrying out orders obediently. The culprit shares the same purpose as Indy, that is, finding the Sleeping King. Although Tuya is very confused about the Sleeping King, Indy doesn't explain further and hurriedly leaves. Following Indy's leave, Tuya offers assistance to the victims by providing them with water. Among the victims are 3 adventurers. In addition to them, every victim is wearing a collar, which is symbolic of their enslavement, signifying their inability to defy their master's commands. If these collars are removed forcibly, they will suffer severe pain or even death. But now their owner is dead, they cannot remove the collar. Sympathizing with their plight, 3 adventurers decide to help them escape abroad and find a solution to removing the collars. Tuya shares their empathy and uses his instant fetching magic to remove the collars. Yet, he cannot change their identity as slaves or permit their return to their homelands. Therefore, as the first princess, Yamina invites them to join the kingdom of Belfast. Overwhelmed with gratitude, the victims kneel to express their appreciation towards her. Tuya sends the victims home and tells Francesca to settle them. Before heading to the ruins of Babylon Island, Lean asks Tuya to explain his relationship with Indy. Tuya replies that he met Indy on his way to buy an engagement ring. At that time, Indy wanted to pay with a strange coin, but the merchant refused. After Tuya paid his bill, he got the strange coin. Knowing that Indy wanted to find a job, he took him to the Adventurers Guild. To convince them, Tuya shows the coin. Francesca is a heritage of Babylon and knows much about ancient civilizations. She recognizes the coin as the Partheno silver coin, a currency from 5,000 years ago. Lean thinks Indy is very suspicious. Not only does he carry ancient coins with him, but he can easily defeat crystal monsters. Els hears Lean mention the crystal monster and takes the opportunity to ask Tuya why he knows that the beast's name is Phrase. Tuya tells them that he received a message from Regina. Regina created 9 floating islands in Babylon, and the Sky Garden is one of them. She lived 5,000 years ago and was a genius female scientist of ancient civilizations. Regina had a tool to foresee the future and watch them every day, until one day, the Phrases destroyed Partheno, where Regina was located. Perhaps, as Indy said, Phrase appeared because of the cracks in the world barrier. Tuya doesn't know much, and he hopes Francesca will tell him a more detailed story, such as whether humans were at war with Phrase 5,000 years ago. Francesca's answer surprises him greatly. Although it was a tough fight, humans and Phrases did not officially engage in a battle. Regina developed a weapon against Phrases, a single-piloted giant mobile robot called Frame Gear. Unexpectedly, by the time the weapon was made, Phrases had disappeared. Later, these weapons were stored in one of the ruins of Babylon, a vehicle hangar. If Tuya can find it, he can get those weapons. Therefore, Tuya leads his harem members to search for the ruins again. Employing wind magic, Lean successfully finds one of the ruins hidden beneath the desert. Tuya takes the initiative to enter the ruins and discovers a teleportation array there. Since magic is not available inside the ruins, Tuya enlists Kahaku to tell others about his situation. Later, he arrives at another floating island in Babylon through the teleportation array. Regrettably, this is not a hangar island, but a workshop. The workshop's manager, Rosetta, is a pervert. Although Tuya is a compatible person, she gives him a test, asking him to stand still and guess the color of her intimate clothes. Employing magic, Tuya accurately gives the answer. Overwhelmed by Rosetta's sexy clothes, he can't help but feel bashful. Confirming Tuya's identity as the compatible person, Rosetta recognizes him as the workshop's owner. After recording his DNA with a kiss, she shows him around the workshop. The workshop is advanced in technology. Both Tuya and Rosetta have access to create any tool on a tiny cube. If they have the original object, they can also replicate it directly. Tuya uses his usual automatic pistol and a piece of mithril to create the mithril pistol. He loves the workshop very much. The only thing that disappoints him is that although the frame gear was made in the workshop, the finished products were all put into the vehicle hangar, and he can never get it. After visiting the workshop, Tuya uses a portal to bring his harem members here, including Francesca. Since Tuya is now the owner of the Sky Garden and the workshop, he decides to merge them into one. Back in the Belfast Kingdom, Tuya creates jobs for the desert victims. He makes many bicycles in his workshop and sells them to traders at high prices. After securing initial funding, he opens a cafe and hires the victims. As the owner of the cafe, Tuya is popular with many people, such as Prim, the reception lady of the Adventurers Guild. On this day, Tuya and Yamina come to the guild and accept the commission to fight the bloody crabs. While they are talking to Prim, she asks Tuya to order an available book series, The Order of the Rose. Tuya readily agrees. After leading the guild, Yamina tells him something. Recently, works about homoerotic relationships in the reading cafe have been very popular. The books that Prim mentions also talk about this theme. The author of the book is Relil, the first princess of the referee's Imperium. Because Yamina has a very good relationship with her, she knows that Relil loves stories about homoerotic relationships and that she created the Order of the Rose under a pseudonym. Unable to understand Relil's preferences, Tuya decides to go on a fight against the bloody crabs first. He and Yamina work together and defeat the bloody crabs easily. While going to the guild to report the result, Tuya tells Prim that he is going to order the books and asks her to pick popular works of the same theme. Prim is very excited. She immediately goes to communicate with the other reception ladies and makes a long list of books. Tuya comes to the bookstore with a list of books to restock. Interestingly, he encounters Relil there. Relil wants to buy a highly popular novel centered on homoerotic relationships. Unfortunately, the book has already been bought by Tuya. Upon learning that Tuya has bought The Order of the Rose, she proposes an exchange, offering a signed copy of her book in return for the one she desires. As she reveals her identity as the author of The Order of the Rose, Tuya realizes that she is Relil mentioned by Yamina and calls out Relil's name. Relil is even more astounded than Tuya since her authorship has remained a secret. She has no idea of how Tuya can know the truth. Tuya clarifies that he is Yamina's fiancé and obtained the information from her. However, witnessing Tuya buying several novels centered on homoerotic relationships, Relil mistakenly thinks he has a preference for boys. Consequently, she becomes suspicious about his relationship with Yamina. To demonstrate his genuine affection for girls, Tuya arranges a meeting between Relil and Yamina. Additionally, he visits the workshop to copy the book Relil is interested in. Surprisingly, after interacting with Tuya, Relil finds herself brimming with newfound inspiration. She then writes a novel featuring Tuya. In this novel, Tuya does a lot of evil things to knights, princesses, and princes to seize a certain country. When Tuya sees the novel, he feels very angry. Afterward, Tuya continues stocking books. On this day, he comes to the Regulus Empire to buy books. There is a military coup in the empire, and it becomes very chaotic. Tuya meets a wounded young man on the street and hurries to heal his wounds with magic. To stop the civil war, Tuya rushes to the palace. He uses his smartphone to look for people in need and discovers the third princess, Lucia. He takes down the soldiers who attacked Lucia and heals her wounds. Lucia rarely has contact with men, and she feels very nervous when communicating with Tuya. At this time, a female knight of the Imperial Knights rushes over. Knowing that Tuya has mastered teleportation magic, she asks him to teleport the royals to safety. Tuya grants her request. Led by the female knight, they come to the king's bedchamber. The king was knocked unconscious by the rebels' leader, Bazar, and his condition is not well. Bazar is a general of the Regulus kingdom. A few days ago, he quarreled with the king. He aimed to launch an assault on the kingdom of Belfast, but the king rejected his proposal. However, the ambitious Bazar has been preparing for 20 years to conquer the kingdom of Belfast. He used criminals as offerings and formed contracts with demons. Anyone who interrupts him will be considered as his adversary. As Tuya has been supporting the royal family of Regulus, Bazar has developed a strong animosity towards him. As a result, he summons demons and utilizes artifacts to absorb Tuya's mana. Additionally, he wields a defensive artifact that makes physical attacks futile against him. Realizing he isn't strong enough to defeat Bazar at present, Tuya decides to leave first with Lucia and her father, as well as the female knight. Although he may not defeat Bazar temporarily, Tuya employs magic to create a series of disruptions for Bazar before leaving. Tuya takes them home and heals them. He then informs his fiancés of the civil war in the Regulus kingdom. Considering that Bazar is about to attack the kingdom of Belfast, they have to find a way to deal with Bazar. So he reports about Bazar to the king of Belfast. The king devises a plan for repression and entrusts Tuya with his help. Tuya accepts the king's commission. When he returns home again, the king of the Regulus royal family has woken up and thanks him. Tuya tells him not to worry, as they have already figured out a strategy against Bazar. Lucia asks Tuya to find her brother before the war. Tuya asks Lucia to imagine her brother's appearance in her mind. At the same time, he casts magic and reads her memory, but he never expects that Lucia's brother is the young man he saved. He uses his phone to find the location of Lucia's brother and finds that he is settled in a very safe place. As the sun rises, Tuya and his fiancés infiltrate the territory of the Regulus kingdom. Since Bazar and the demons are resistant to magic, Tuya meticulously devises intricate strategies. Firstly, he imbues the mithril sword with magic and uses the sword to slash the demon. Then, he employs teleportation magic to transport Bazar into a storage space, which contains several slimes emitting a terrible smell. As a result, Bazar falls into a coma because of the smell after entering the space. With Tuya's intervention, the civil war in the Regulus kingdom is successfully resolved, allowing the king to take over the country again. To thank Tuya, the king decides to marry Lucia to him. Yamina is very generous. She has long seen through that Lucia likes Tuya. Therefore, she asked the other fiancés in advance for their opinions and found that they all supported Tuya's marriage to Lucia. Lucia becomes Tuya's fifth fiancé as she wishes, and she feels very happy. The kings of the kingdoms of Belfast and Regulus decide to give a portion of their respective lands to Tuya in order to reward him. In other words, Tuya will become the king of this territory. Tuya accepts their kindness and names his kingdom Brunhilda. Later, he intends to plan urbanization. While engaged in discussions with his fiancés about castle design, Rosetta introduces another function of the workshop to them. Aside from copying, the workshop also has the function of automatic transformation. With the necessary materials prepared, the transformation can be accomplished within 3 days. Since all materials will be broken down and reconstructed during the process, they can also use old materials. To conserve materials, Lucia suggests they use materials from abandoned castles, and everyone agrees with the proposal. Through their joint efforts, the construction of the castle is soon completed. After the establishment of the kingdom of Brunhilda, the king of the Referees Imperium applies to Tuya for the establishment of diplomatic relations. He also suggests that Tuya host a reception to entertain the kings of the West. Tuya accepts his offer. He calls in the waiters of the cafe to help and also prepares various entertainment facilities. While he is thinking about security, a visitor offers him help. The visitor's name is Tsubaki, and she is a female ninja who is a former member of the Takeda's elite force led by Kusaka. Kusaka, anticipating Takeda's imminent destruction, fired her early. Because Tuya saved her and her people, Tsubaki takes her entire clan to join him. With the permission of Tuya, they become the first residents of the kingdom of Brunhilda. It is worth mentioning that Kusaka becomes the prime minister of Tuya with his outstanding ability. Tuya, taking into account the need for some commercial activity of the residents, decides to recruit merchants. He not only creates the street with his workshop but also builds an entrance post with Tsubaki's clan people. Lucia notices that Tuya is very busy working and especially prepares a bento box for him. Tuya is impressed by her and thinks she is a very cute girl. As the reception begins, the entertainment facilities prepared by Tuya are popular among many kings. It is the first time that the kings of the countries have the opportunity to get together, and each of them has a great time. The final performance of the reception is fireworks. While enjoying the fireworks, Lucia thanks Tuya. Since meeting him, she has had a great time every day. Tuya takes the opportunity to give the engagement ring to Lucia and hold her hand. Following the reception, Tuya and his group of fiancés embark on another journey in search of the ruins of Babylon. Luckily, they soon find a relic in the kingdom of Elfrau. Just like before, Tuya takes the lead in entering the ruins and eventually finds the alchemy lab managed by Flora. Given Tuya's possession of the garden and workshop, Flora recognizes him as the compatible person. However, she still gives him a test involving physical contact. Tuya doesn't expect Flora will be as perverted as Rosetta and feels quite uneasy. Upon completing the test, Flora officially bestows ownership of the alchemy lab to Tuya and also kisses him to record his DNA. Immediately afterward, Flora takes Tuya to visit the Alchemy Lab, which is a facility used to combine different substances and magic to produce new items, such as a potion that can treat wounds and so on. It also functions as a medical facility, and it's possible to regrow an arm or a leg. This will be very good news for the residents of Brunhilda. After dealing with these things, Tuya intends to concentrate on taking care of the people around him. He goes to Ye and the twins' homes in sequence to ask their families for permission for their marriage. Ye's parents respect her opinion very much and do not object. When the twins' uncle learns that Tuya is the king of Brunhilda, his first reaction is to kneel to him. Tuya is popular in the twins' homes. Later, when Tuya learns that Thunderbears have appeared in the twins' hometown, he helps eliminate them. While waiting for the Adventurers Guild to deal with the Thunderbears, Tuya meets Indy. He is very curious about phrases and hopes that Indy will erase his confusion. Indy can't tell him the ins and outs of what happened, only telling part of the truth. The phrases don't belong to this world, and they came to this world to find the core of the king who led them. This core is hidden in the body of a random human and emits a unique faint sound. As the sound is covered by the heartbeat of the host, they can't hear the sound and can only make the heartbeat disappear by killing. That's why the army of phrases attacked humanity 5,000 years ago. But for some reason, the barrier of the world is repaired, and phrases can't enter the human world again. At that time, Indy's task was to eliminate the remaining phrases. Unexpectedly, 5,000 years later, cracks occur again. Indy has been busy destroying phrases lately in order to stall for time and wait for the king's core to move to another world. That's all Indy is able to tell Tuya. Before Indy leaves, Tuya asks him what his identity is. Indy replies that he is a traveler. Concerning that the phrases will attack his kingdom, Tuya asks Rosetta about the frame gears in order to confront Phrase. Rosetta explains to Tuya that the production of frame gears requires huge and complex materials, which they can create only one per day. Moreover, the number of frame gears that the Hangar Island possessed is also limited, with merely 4 to 6 of each type. Hearing this, Tuya realizes that the most important thing now is to find materials and the Hangar Island. He summons the Flame Monarch and makes a contract with it. He names it Kugyoku and enlists its assistance to gather valuable intelligence. Kugyoku summons thousands of birds to scour for the ruins of Babylon. A few days later, Kugyoku reports to Tuya that a bird has spotted a suspicious building on an uninhabited island. Based on its description of the building, Tuya speculates that it is likely to be the ruins of Babylon. He is very excited and immediately comes to the uninhabited island with his harem members. They encounter several monsters on the island. His harem members cooperate and easily defeat them. At this time, Paula, the summoned beast of Tuya, discovers the suspicious building. Led by it, Tuya comes to the building and confirms that this is the ruins of Babylon. He enters the ruins and meets the administrator, Monica. Monica has a very hot temper. She asks Tuya to defeat her before she recognizes him to be a compatible person, but her combat power is weak and she cannot cause any damage to Tuya. In the end, Monica has to announce that Tuya is the owner of the Hangar Island. When Tuya learns that this is the Hangar Island, he becomes very excited. At his request, Monica shows him a frame gear. Unfortunately, the frame gear here does not have fuel. If they want to get fuel, they have to go to another ruin, the Research Lab Island. Seeing Tuya very sad, Monica suggests that he ask Flora. So Tuya comes to the alchemy lab with the harem group. Flora says she can make fuel, but its quality can't compare with the fuel made at the Research Lab Island. Tuya doesn't care about the quality and just wants to get the frame gear activated now. After receiving Tuya's assurance, Flora asks him for the spellstones required to make fuel. Tuya, at Flora's request, uses his smartphone to find the spellstones. Luckily enough, there is a big one in Brunhilda. When Tuya finds it, he immediately gives it to Flora. While Flora is making fuel, Tuya comes to Hangar Island to check on the frame gear. Coincidentally, Rosetta is in the company of Monica to check the condition of the Hangar Island. After meeting Tuya, Rosetta invites him to the pilot's seat. When he gets on the seat, he is increasingly looking forward to the day when the fuel is made. To get Tuya used to frame gear in advance, Monica takes out the 2 virtual reality machines she has made. She and Tuya sit on it and conduct actual combat training. Because it takes a month to make fuel, Tuya replicates many virtual reality machines in the workshop for the harem members and the residents of the city to experience. In addition, the workshop also produces frame gears every day. It only takes a few months for every resident to own a frame gear. Before the fuel is created, Sashi pays an unexpected visit to the realm of Brunhilda. She is Yamane's cousin and also has a close relationship with Tuya, but she takes the opportunity to express her willingness to marry Tuya. He is still startled by her. Just then, Lame, the housekeeper of Sashi's home, arrives to explain the situation. It turns out that Zebun, the first prince of the kingdom of Linnea, has fallen in love with Sashi since their first encounter at a banquet and wants to marry her. However, Zebun is 30 years old and is known as a libertine. Lame is also opposed to the marriage. To persuade Tuya to marry her, Sashi confesses to him, revealing her deep affection for him and her desire to marry him. Although Tuya is touched by her, it is a matter between 3 countries, so he has to consult with his fiancés before making a decision. Much to his surprise, his fiancés are very supportive of their marriage and actively help to find the solution. Following their discussions, Tuya decides to communicate with Sashi's father, Duke Ortlind, to further address this matter. He arrives at Sashi's house and tells the Duke that he will marry Sashi. The Duke thinks it is a good way to reject Zebun. When Zebun's brother Cloud comes to visit, the Duke refuses their marriage proposal on the grounds that Sashi and Tuya have an engagement. Unexpectedly, Cloud adores Tuya. Knowing that Tuya is good at teleporting magic, Cloud begs him to save his mother. It turns out that Cloud's mother has been imprisoned by Prime Minister Wardak for nearly a decade. The kingdom of Linnea is currently in Wardak's control. Neither Cloud nor his father can resist him. Wardak's and Zebun's mothers are cousins and are very close. Wardak intends to announce the succession of Zebun while the marriage is announced. The Duke is very dissatisfied with Wardak's actions. He believes that an emergency meeting should be convened immediately to abolish Zebun and help Cloud take the throne. As the emergency meeting begins, the kings of the Western Kingdoms express their support for Cloud, but they do not want to get involved in this political struggle and leave the task of helping Cloud to Tuya. So Tuya comes to the kingdom with Cloud, accompanied by Ye and Els. In order not to attract the attention of others, they all use invisibility magic, except for Cloud, who then heads to report the result of the marriage proposal to Zebun and is followed by them. Zebun is not much different from rumors. He has a hot temper and is accompanied by a female slave. Knowing that Sashi and Tuya are engaged, Zebun intends to send people to spread rumors that Tuya is lecherous and use these rumors to get Sashi to break the marriage contract with him. During this time, he can tell that Cloud is very opposed to his decision and beats him up. After that, Tuya's group goes to Cloud's residence and casts magic to heal Cloud. Tuya cares about the slave girl by Zebun's side and uses the portal to rescue her. Even the collar around her neck is removed by him. Unexpectedly, Zebun and Wardak are both very violent. After discovering that the slave girl is missing, they try to directly execute her by crushing the collar. Tuya's group follows them using invisibility magic and overhears Wardak's intention to use Cloud to declare war on the kingdom of Palufu. To help Cloud, Tuya makes a series of plans. Firstly, they need to rescue Cloud's mother. At night, Tuya's group stealthily approaches the vicinity where she's being held captive. Then, Tuya uses paralyzing magic to immobilize the guarding soldiers. Soon, they easily release Cloud's mother and leave through the portal. Later, they need to collect evidence of Wardak's crimes. Following the successful rescue of Cloud's mother, Tuya employs invisibility magic to infiltrate Wardak's office alone, intending to record some evidence. To his astonishment, he stumbles upon an adulterous affair between Wardak and Zebun's mother. They are conspiring to assassinate the king and eliminate all royal members, so they can crown Zebun as the new king. It turns out that Zebun's biological father is not the king, but Wardak. Tuya discreetly records their conversation using his phone and then gives the key evidence to the king. Furious, the king immediately announces to pass the throne to Cloud. When Wardak questions the decision, the king requests Tuya to play the recorded video. Later, the king removes Wardak from his position and sentences Zebun to death. Upon ascending to the throne, Cloud punishes the Zebun family by selling them to slave traders, forcing them to experience an enslaved life. things in the kingdom of Linnea come to an end, and Sashi once again confesses to Tuya. Unable to turn her down, Tuya agrees to make her his 6th fiancé, but he still adheres to his principles, insisting that he will not marry them until he is 18. Next, let's have a look at Tuya's private life. He decides to deepen his relationship with his 5 fiancés, because he hasn't given Sashi the engagement ring yet. They don't call Sashi, and the 6 of them go to the referee's Imperium for a date. During this, a poster of a theatrical performance catches their attention. Just as they are about to go to the show, a group of gangsters stop them and demand money. Due to their weak combat power, Tuya's fiancés easily defeat them. Tuya has a very enjoyable day with his fiancés. In the evening, Sashi suddenly appears in front of them. She complains that they go out on a date without telling her. To compensate her, Tuya allows her to date him alone. Sashi decides to date in the kingdom of Brunhilda. On the day of the date, they wander around the kingdom and attract the attention of many residents. Sashi thinks Tuya is a good king, and his people all seem very happy. Towards the end of the date, Flora tells Tuya that the fuel is made. Tuya immediately fills the frame gear with the fuel for a test drive with his fiancés. Frame gear is easier to manipulate than expected. Even if they don't have mana, they can handle it very well. After the test drive, Tuya comes to the workshop. Rosetta uses fragments of phrases collected by Tuya to craft swords and crystal bullets. She also reports to Tuya about the problem she encountered when making frame gear. That is, a material called orichalcum is running out and needs to be replenished as soon as possible. During his search for the orichalcum golem, Tuya passes by a kingdom named Lestia. Noticing that a group of low-level phrases is attacking the town, he immediately assists the local knights to take them down. Since many residents are injured, Tuya uses his magic to heal them. The leader of the knights is Hildegard, the kingdom's first princess. She is very grateful for Tuya's help. She once heard stories of Tuya aiding many countries in resolving challenges and admires him a lot. To her surprise, Tuya not only possesses intelligence but also impressive swordsmanship skills that can even defeat phrases with a single strike. Tuya thinks Hildegard is also very good at swordsmanship, but she lacks a suitable weapon to fight with phrases. With Hildegard's permission, he collects phrase fragments from the scene and offers her several crystal swords in return. After leaving the kingdom of Lestia, Tuya finds an orichalcum golem and takes it down. On the way back, he meets a wounded girl. Although he casts magic to heal her, she falls into a coma. Tuya takes her to the alchemy lab for treatment. Unfortunately, the girl wakes up and loses her previous memories. As she doesn't have a name, Tuya gives her a temporary name, Sakura. When she is recovered, Tuya arranges a room for her in the castle and has Kagyoku as her guard. On this day, Tuya hears Sakura singing in the garden, and her singing makes Tuya's heart race. Remembering that he hasn't played the piano for a long time, Tuya decides to accompany her on the piano. When Tuya's fiancés hear it, they love their music. After the performance, Tuya meets Prim in the Adventurers Guild. Prim wants Tuya to accept the mission of fighting the Catoblipas, which is very difficult to deal with. It spits out poisonous smoke from its mouth that will make plants wither, and its eyes are very terrifying. Whoever makes eye contact with it will be turned into a stone. There are currently 3 teams who have been turned into stones, a total of 13 adventurers. If Tuya completes this commission, he will get a high reward, which attracts Tuya, and he accepts the mission. In preparation for the mission, Tuya equips his fiancés with weapons and enhances their rings with recovery magic, so that they can cast recovery magic as soon as they have eye contact with the Catoblipas. As the battle begins, Tuya uses his sword to slash the Catoblipas. Since he makes eye contact with the creature, his feet are petrified. Although he immediately uses recovery magic, his shoes are still damaged. Tuya concludes that recovery magic can only restore the body. Meanwhile, Lucia meets the side of the dead Catoblipas. Surprisingly, its eyes still retain their effect even after its death, and Lucia's body is petrified. Since her petrified area is larger, after casting recovery magic, her skirt is torn. Feeling extremely embarrassed, Lucia quickly asks Tuya to turn around. After that, Tuya finds another Catoblipas. To avoid being petrified, he blocks its sight with magic. In the end, he completes the mission. A few days later, Tuya invites the king of the Allied Kingdoms to experience the virtual reality machines and lends them to the kings. Phrases are very powerful. It is not enough to use only the power of Brunhilda to defeat them. He wants people all over the world to learn to drive the frame gear. While Tuya is busy preparing for the battle against the phrases, an unexpected visitor appears in the kingdom of Brunhilda, the goddess. She lies to be Tuya's sister and offers to meet him alone. Her curiosity about Tuya's personal life leads her to seek a closer connection with him. Just then, a maid informs Tuya that a messenger from Lestia arrived in Brunhilda an hour ago, and they are currently visiting the Order. Soon, Tuya arrives at the Order's training grounds, where he encounters Hildegard and her grandfather. They come here for the frame gear. Tuya takes them to a nearby clearing on the outskirts and demonstrates the combat prowess of the frame gear. as they are worried that Tuya will use frame gear to invade other countries. Tuya tells them the fact that phrases once destroyed the ancient civilization. In order not to let the tragedy be repeated, he activates the frame gear. He never wants to invade other countries. If the allied kingdoms want to fight against beasts or help with disaster relief, he can lend the frame gear to them. Hildegard's grandfather is interested in frame gear. He wants to establish diplomatic relations with Brunhilda, but he cannot make this decision himself and has to go back and consult with his son. After visiting the frame gear, Hildegard expresses her desire to have a competition against the strongest swordsman of Brunhilda. Tuya believes Ye is the strongest swordsman and arranges a duel between the two. Although the outcome of the contest remains undecided, Hildegard is deeply impressed by Ye's abilities. However, she is taken aback when she discovers that Ye is not a knight, but one of Tuya's fiancés. Hildegard has developed feelings for Tuya at first sight. Upon learning that Tuya already has 6 fiancés, she feels very disappointed. The goddess also watches the competition offstage with Tuya's fiancés. She sees through Hildegard's thoughts and directly reveals her affection for Tuya. Blushing with embarrassment, Hildegard instantly apologizes to Ye. To her surprise, Ye not only forgives her but also extends an invitation for Hildegard to become Tuya's 7th fiancé. Supported by the other fiancés, Ye's offer touches Hildegard deeply, prompting her to make a firm decision to marry Tuya. The only person who objects to this is Hildegard's grandfather. According to their national tradition, if Hildegard wants to get married, she must show her determination. So they have another competition. Hildegard's grandfather masters powerful skills, causing Hildegard to have a hard time resisting. To help her, Tuya deliberately uses his phone to show her grandfather a picture of a beautiful girl. Hildegard's grandfather is lecherous. He is attracted by the photo and shows flaws. Hildegard takes the opportunity to defeat her grandfather. Afterward, Tuya discovers 2 ruins of Babylon, the Rampart and Tower Islands at the same time. 347 years ago, the 2 islands made contact by chance, so now the Rampart and the Tower are in the same place. Tuya meets the administrator of the Rampart. Her name is Leora, and she is very gentle. Knowing that Tuya already possesses several ruins, she does not test Tuya and directly declares him the owner of the Rampart. She then takes Tuya to meet Noel, the tower's administrator, who is sleeping leaning against the tree. Leora asks Tuya to bring some food and wakes her up with the aroma of food. Noel has a very simple request. As long as Tuya is able to provide food and accommodation, she will admit that he is the compatible person. Tuya agrees to Noel's conditions. After the negotiations, Noel and Leora kiss Tuya in turn, recording his DNA. Given Noel's penchant for laziness, Leora steps in to introduce the tower to the group. The tower serves as Babylon's central hub, capable of extracting magical particles from the surrounding air, enhancing them, and converting them into magical energy. Functioning as the heart of Babylon's defense system, the rampart stands as a central pillar, protecting against both physical and magical assaults. Tuya envisions the tower's potential contribution to frame gear development and anticipates the defensive capabilities of the rampart. While guiding his harem members on a tour of the ruins, Kahaku delivers a letter from the king of Belfast, informing Tuya of Yamina's mother's impending childbirth. Upon receiving this news, Tuya promptly travels to Belfast with his companions. The king, brimming with excitement, introduces his newborn child to Tuya and entrusts him with the task of selecting a name for the baby. After careful consideration, Tuya names him Yamato. The arrival of baby Yamato brings forth a wave of jubilation for both Belfast and Brunhilda. Following their visit, Tuya's fiancés gather for a relaxing time at the women's bath, engaging in discussions centered around newborns and inevitably indulging in thoughts about their potential offspring with Tuya. Several administrators of the ruins reveal to Tuya what his harem members talked about. They also tell Tuya that they foresee his future using the clairvoyance gem. He will have 9 wives in the future, each of whom will give birth to a child. At the end of the anime, Brunhilda organizes a banquet to celebrate the birth of Prince Yamato. Although Tuya doesn't have children at present, he is very satisfied with the company of his family members and people. When he shares kisses with his fiancée, Francesca takes out the clairvoyance gem to predict his future. The gem indicates that Lean and Sakura will become Tuya's other 2 wives, contributing to the formation of a blissful and content family. Here brings the end of In Another World with My Smartphone Season 1 and 2. Compared to Season 1, Tuya grows mature in Season 2's story. When he learns that another world is going to be destroyed by the Phrases, he keeps helping those around him and fighting against Phrases even though he has become a king. Also, he is willing to help other countries in need. I think that's why his 9 harems will fall in love with him. Tuya and his friends have experienced many thrilling, interesting, and touching moments in the past 2 season stories. I believe he will finally defeat the Phrases in the following season. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like this video to help my channel out. Also, remember to subscribe to my channel. Your support is what motivates me to keep updating my videos. Bye!